The vandalism at an LGBTQ community center in Denver made headlines over the weekend. It now looks like it wasn't an isolated incident. The Parasol Patrol, a group that tracks hate in our community, says windows were smashed, buildings damaged at 6 LGBTQ-friendly spots in the past several days. Kevin Vaughn from our 9 News Investigates team is along with this. And Kevin, DPD tells you they're investigating 2 incidents. You went out today and saw damage at 3 sites.
Kyle, that's right. We observed broken windows and other damage at 3 businesses today, and one of the owners put it to me very simply. It's one thing when someone breaks windows at several shops along a single street. Common sense says it's something else when it happens in different parts of town to businesses that support the LGBTQ community. Incident Saturday at the center on Colfax got a lot of attention over the weekend. A person with a rock smashing windows, then running away. It turns out it wasn't a one-off. A barbershop in another part of town had a window shattered where a pride flag hung. At this building in Rhino, someone broke out 2 windows and damaged several others. Styler Els, who operates a wellness business here, believes it's no mystery why this building and others were targeted.
I think somebody is definitely targeting the queer community, and I don't know what the motives are, but I do know that there's far too many of us that got vandalized for it to be a coincidence.
After this incident, Els tells us a decision has been made to add security cameras to the outside of that building. According to Denver police, investigators have not linked the 2 cases the department is currently investigating. Kyle?
And Kevin, when we talk about the center on Colfax, probably like the most visible sign of LGBTQ life in Denver. But some of these other places, not necessarily that level of prominence in the community, but places that would be identifiable as queer friendly.
Yeah, one, for example, had a pride flag hanging in the window. That was the sum total of their statement of support for that community.
All right, Kevin Vaughn reporting for us. Thank you, Kevin. Health insurance premiums are about to double for Coloradans on the individual market. The state's insurance division estimates that'll lead to about 75,000 Coloradans losing their health insurance. The state is blaming that increase on congressional Republicans who are not extending tax credits for health insurance. That is the key sticking point in the government shutdown, which is now in its 4th week. The state says that if those credits were to be extended, then Coloradans on the individual marketplace would see average premium increases of 16% as opposed to 100%. Open enrollment begins November 1st. Families who want coverage in January need to choose a plan by December 15th. Canada is Colorado's largest import partner by a mile. Prepare to pay more for the stuff that we buy from Canada. President Trump is increasing tariffs on that country because he's mad about a Canadian TV commercial. The commercial uses the words of former President Ronald Reagan, who condemned such tariffs. Trump went so far as to claim that this ad out of Canada was faked with AI. It wasn't. It's Reagan's real words. Democrats in Congress, including Colorado's Joe Neguse, are now joining a legal challenge to Trump's tariff war against the world. That case is set to go before the Supreme Court November 5th. In the Democrats' legal brief filed today, they argue that Trump improperly used his emergency powers for tariffs that are raising expenses for Americans. Trump cites a law from 1977 giving the president power to regulate international commerce in response to a, quote, unusual and extraordinary threat. Denver, if you still have that mail ballot sitting on the counter at home, there are some deep-pocketed people and groups spending a lot of money to convince you to pick up that ballot and vote it their way. Our Marshall Zellinger is following the money.
I'll look for really big contributions, partly because that can change the nature of the election.
If you follow the money, like MSU Denver political science professor Robert Preuss, it can help you understand who or what wants you to vote a certain way. Take, for example, Denver Ballot Issue 310, which asks voters to keep a ban on the sale of flavored tobacco. Former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg has contributed $2.7 million to keep the ban in place. He has a history of supporting ballot issues limiting access to tobacco products, while tobacco companies like Philip Morris and Altria have contributed $75,000 each.
You have one person who's very concerned about the health effects, another industry that's concerned about their profits. So those things align as you might expect.
The Denver bond issues have $1.4 million in support and just $7,000 from a group in opposition. In favor of the bonds, you'll notice $50,000 contributions from the Museum of Nature and Science, the Denver Zoo, the DCPA, Denver Art Museum, and Botanic Gardens. Each of those entities would benefit from the bond passing, and each of those entities get a portion of their funding from a special 7-county sales tax. And each of those entities said in statements today that the money contributed to the vibrant bond ballot issues are not from those tax dollars, but from earned revenue like admission or concessions.
What is the alternative, right? To not allow any entity that might receive either direct or indirect or down the line taxpayer dollars from expressing their views on campaigns. And that's simply almost impossible to do.
If the bonds pass, there will be new construction in the city. The two biggest contributors in support of the bonds are Jacobs Engineering and a General Contractors Association. A spokesman for the Vibrant Denver campaign said, "The city has a competitive bid process that selects contractors for projects such as these. If a company like Jacobs wants to work on one of these projects, they would have to submit a bid and go through that competitive process." Where you look for campaign finance reports depends on the type of race. The city issues, well, the city of Denver at least has a site called Searchlight, fairly easy to use. A state race like the governor's race coming up, you have to go to the Secretary of State's Tracer website, which still in the year 2025 has no back function. So if you start to look at some of the reports and you want to go back to do another search, it errors on you. So good luck with Tracer.
Yeah. So based on what you're seeing, there's nothing that's like obviously running afoul of campaign finance laws. These are people who have an interest in this, and they have found a way to support the position that they favor.
Right. And in the city-based groups, there are funds that you can, private funds that you can use to contribute to campaigns, and you have a business, and I guess that last statement makes a point, like a business can contribute all it wants to a person or to a cause, but if it thinks it's going to get a job out of it in the end, you still have to go up against other people and see who gets the awards the contract, and I'm sure there are people out there who be like, of course they're going to get the contract if they gave that much money.
Mm-hmm. Well, we can watch that process too. Marshall Zellinger, thank you very much. So if you still have that ballot, today's the last day to mail them in. You missed the deadline, you can still drop it off at drop boxes all over the place, or you can vote in person. It's funny, I have never voted in person in Colorado, I don't think. No, I don't think, I mean, I've been here 18 years. I don't recall ever voting in person here, and I try not to ever miss an election. You have until 7 p.m. November 4th to get your ballot turned in. According to the Secretary of State's office, more than 400,000 Coloradans have already voted. And don't you want to be like all those other people? Right now, this state is scrambling to figure out how to feed families when SNAP food benefits lose their funding next month with the government shutdown. And the federal government is warning states it is not going to refund state expenses if states dip into their own reserves to pay to keep food benefits running. The Trump administration is saying that it will not use federal contingency funds to continue SNAP food benefits in November. This administration has weaponized the shutdown against its political opponents in a way that we have not seen in prior government shutdowns, not even during Trump's first term. A partisan message posted on the federal SNAP benefit website blames Democrats for the end of SNAP food benefits, says they're, quote, holding out for health care for illegal aliens and genital mutilation procedures. Colorado's Democratic Governor Jared Polis has requested $10 million from the state's Joint Budget Committee for food benefits. But I mean, that's $10 million versus $120 million shortfall. That's why the governor is also asking people to donate money to their local food banks. Your work continues to help our neighbors through the uncertainty and the financial strain of the government shutdown. First off, thank you. Last week, you raised more than $45,000 for the Homefront Military Network through your latest Word of Thanks microgiving campaign. That nonprofit helps military families across Colorado as they deal with financial emergencies and unexpected expenses, helps them to put together longer-term life plans to get through whatever crisis is in front of them. Next, we are going to turn our attention with Word of Thanks to hunger in Colorado. It was already a crisis before the expected end of SNAP benefits with the government shutdown in November. I have heard from a ton of you asking how you can help, where those dollars can go. How do you make an impact to feed families in Colorado? So this is what we are going to do together to make some small impact. We're going to launch a sustained effort through our Word of Thanks microgiving, lasting at least through the end of November, focused solely on feeding families across our state. We know that you'll come through as you always do with $5 donation after $5 donation. That is how you have done $16 million worth of good around this state over the last 5 years. So send me ideas of nonprofits making an impact in your corner of Colorado. Email next@9news.com or text next to 303-871-1491. From paying the troops during the shutdown to building his gilded ballroom, President Trump's priorities are being bankrolled by billionaires with local connections. Tulane University is big mad at a school in Colorado, punishing an entire class of grads as a result.
And nobody knows it's a problem yet, and then later on it kind of rears its ugly head and becomes an issue.
How to identify a zombie tree at your place. That's next. An anonymous donor gave $130 million to the U.S. government to help pay troops during the government shutdown. New York Times figures that works out to be about $100 per service member. And the Times also reports that the secretive donor is a reclusive billionaire who we have mentioned before on this program. The Times says the big check, which may be a violation of federal law, came from camera-shy billionaire Timothy Mellon, heir to the Mellon family fortune. He lives in Wyoming. Last year, we told you that his name showed up as having paid for billboards on the state line, warning drivers entering Colorado that it was Venezuela ahead. Be prepared. I was hoping to show you the billboard, but you know what they say about wishes and dreams. Speaking of deep-pocketed interests lining up with Trump, Colorado's most valuable company is helping to pay for President Trump's gilded ballroom, which he's building in place of the White House East Wing, which was torn down last week. Palantir Technologies, based in Denver, is on that ballroom donor list released by the White House. Democrats and civil liberties groups are concerned that Palantir is helping the Trump administration build a surveillance database on Americans. Tulane University in New Orleans has put a school from Colorado on its excrement roster after a senior from that school backed out of an admission. Spokesperson for Colorado Academy in Denver confirms that Tulane has suspended the school from Tulane's early decision program for 1 year. According to Tulane, students who apply through the early decision process are expected to put down a non-refundable deposit and pull their applications from all other universities once they're admitted. Well, Colorado Academy Senior apparently broke that agreement last year, so Tulane will not accept early decision applications from Colorado Academy's entire senior class this year. An Academy spokesperson told us they're disappointed, but that students can still apply to Tulane, just not on that expedited timeline. Chris Bianchi, that's brutal, because I mean, how many kids are going from CA to Tulane in a year? It's got to be like one, maybe two. There's some kid who had his heart set on going to Tulane. It's like, sorry, kid. Jeez.
Sorry, Billy.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Billy somewhere. Just really upset about that. That is a bit disappointing. By the way, for those of you hoping for snow, you're probably a little disappointed by this. We're getting some showers and some thunderstorms. And here at 9 News, about 5 minutes ago, we had some small hail on October the 27th. Yeah, Mother Nature acting a little bit funky out here this evening. Actually got a severe thunderstorm warning in parts of Lincoln County as well. Seeing some snow. That is now leading to slick spots there at the Eisenhower Johnson tunnels. That is sticking to the tops of those passes, so careful driving through the mountains tonight. There's that severe thunderstorm warning for the next few minutes for hail up to ping pong ball size. It's just south of Hugo there in Lincoln County. And then here in Denver, we got some showers and some rumbles of thunder, including a little thunder shower right over downtown Denver. This will all clear on up over the next couple of hours. Still some leftover flakes for us, maybe even some down here into the Denver area. Speaking of the Denver area, though, this is going to be our big story as we head over the next couple of days. Tonight and tomorrow night, a freeze warning, temperatures dropping down about the mid-20s for both tonight and tomorrow night. And that 7-day forecast, temperatures warming up into the 50s through Halloween. Then we start off November on an October-like note with highs in the 60s and 70s this weekend here, Kyle.
So I know we're always talking weather here, but I also feel like you're our weather friend. You're everyone's weather friend, and I'm sure you're getting asked about Hurricane Melissa. I saw those videos from the folks who fly into the storm today, and they were nuts. Like, this storm looks like a monster.
Kyle, the hurricane hunters go in and they go to each corner of the storm to get some of that up-to-date meteorological data. They had to turn back because the turbulence was so incredible there. I've never heard of that. I've been a meteorologist for 11 years. I've tracked hurricanes closely. I've never heard of the hurricane hunters having to turn back because the turbulence is that severe. So wild stuff indeed. And in fact, I spoke to my friend and CNN meteorologist Derek Van Dam a bit more about what they're expecting in Jamaica as Hurricane Melissa approaches.
The potential exists for 40 inches of rain. That's the National Hurricane Center's forecast. And they're warning of potential isolation of communities for days after the storm. Massive infrastructure loss, communication, power loss, the whole full gambit. The mountains also complicate the catastrophic winds. When it does make landfall, there are remote communities in these mountains that will feel winds, in my estimate, that could top 200 miles per hour. We're on the upper echelon of what a Category 5 and Mother Nature can possibly produce.
That's, Kyle, a little perspective on that.
Yeah.
40 inches of rain. Denver averages 14 inches of rain and snow equivalent in a year. So you're getting 3 times what we would typically get here along the Front Range in about 2 to 3 days there in Jamaica. It's going to be, unfortunately, a devastating storm for our friends there in Jamaica.
It just looks horrific. Well, listen, I know we normally spend our time on local weather, but it seemed too important to ignore. Chris Bianchi, appreciate it, brother.
Yeah.
Zombie trees. They look alive, but they're dead on the inside, like me. What to watch for in your yard, next. You might think a zombie tree would be a festive addition to your yard full of Halloween decorations till the thing cracks and tips over and sends the trick-or-treaters scrambling. Our Byron Reed has that.
There's an unsuspecting danger lurking this time of year.
People have kind of a preemptive fear.
One that makes Michael Sundberg a little anxious.
I think it's a little bit of procrastination, and myself included at my own yard.
Sundberg is a board-certified master arborist at Davey Tree Expert Company, a service that's been on the lookout.
Just because a lot of the things might not be obvious to like the basic homeowner eye, you know, if it's somebody that's not trained in trees.
He says October is a time when people start seeing something strange in their yards.
There's some cracking, and you can have just branches that are broken, but they're still connected to the trees. So yeah, this one's a lot more obvious, but you have all this damaged trunk tissue.
They're hunting down the city's zombie trees, trees with hidden damage after a severe storm or drought.
A zombie tree is probably what I would define as a tree with hidden defects that people don't know about. I guess if I were to try to relate it to Halloween in the movies, it would be a tree that, you know, was bit. Nobody knows it's a problem yet, and then later on it kind of rears its ugly head.
Problems that Sundberg says might have been caused by our unusual weather.
I think our weather is the wackiest part of Colorado. If it's not a drought, we're going to, have a sudden freeze, or we'll have a big temperature swing, and the trees are really, they don't like the big fast changes.
Some trees might be dying from the inside out, but he says there's things you can do early to prevent damage before it happens.
I think the first thing is just to get an expert to look at your trees, get some eyes on it. There's always free consultations to get trees checked out, see if there's anything that needs to be done with them, and then get it addressed.
Sundberg hopes these tips will get homeowners ready for the spring.
Winter months for Colorado, I mean, the winter watering is huge.
To help prevent getting phone calls next year about things going bump in the night.
There's not many like magic fixes for trees. A lot of it's just they need food and they need water. They need a good environment to grow in. So you're just trying to keep them in good shape.
For next, I'm Byron Reed.
They're dying from the inside out, Marilyn.
Just like you and I.
Very relatable, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. Feedback's next. Thank you for all of your suggestions that have come in during the show via email and text about food banks and other nonprofits in your community that are helping to feed our neighbors. I try to keep a handle on like who's doing what kind of work where for future Word of Thanks campaigns, but there is always somebody out there that's doing great work that I miss, and quite often it is a note from one of you that alerts me to it. Note from Dawn, this is a journey. I've watched you for years. It's been a love-hate relationship for sure. I appreciate the freedom of speech that you have, but I mostly disagree with you. Also, you look really good most of the time. Dawn, that last part's fairly immaterial, but I do appreciate that you appreciate freedom of speech. See you next time.